You see, the world is full of noise, people talking, people pretending, people rushing to show what they know. But real power, real influence, that doesn't shout. That doesn't demand attention. It waits. It observes. It calculates. And when you know more than you're saying, that silence becomes a weapon. People around you start to panic, not because they've lost anything, but because they sense something they can't control. They feel the weight of your awareness even when your lips are sealed. They see your calm when chaos surrounds them, and it scares them. They're freaking out because they realize deep down that you understand things they can't even imagine. And that, my friends, is the difference between noise and authority. That's the difference between someone who is merely present and someone who is untouchable. They're freaking out because you know more than you're saying. There's a power in silence that most people will never understand. In a world that celebrates noise, volume, and the desperate need to prove yourself, those who know more than they reveal stand in a realm of quiet dominance. People are freaking out around you, not because of what you're saying, but because of what you're not saying. They can feel it, they sense it, and they fear it. When you hold knowledge without flaunting it, you become a force that others cannot predict, cannot measure, and cannot manipulate. That's not arrogance, that's mastery. That's understanding that influence is cultivated, not shouted. The world reacts to power it does not understand, and your restraint, your quiet confidence, becomes a mirror reflecting their own inadequacy. Many of us have been taught that to be successful, we must constantly announce our knowledge, to broadcast our victories, to tell the world what we know. But let me tell you something, those who scream the loudest are often the most insecure. They compensate for what they lack. And those who truly know, those who truly understand the value of timing, of discretion, of strategic silence. You don't need to prove your intelligence or your foresight. Your actions, your presence, your calm under pressure, all of these speak louder than any words ever could. When people around you start to panic, it is because they recognize a gap they cannot bridge, a depth they cannot comprehend, and a power they cannot contain. Knowledge held quietly is a weapon, but it is not a weapon meant to harm. It is a weapon meant to command respect. You have seen it in life, haven't you? You've watched people scramble, guess, and falter in the face of situations they thought they controlled. And in those moments, you remained steady. You observed, you assessed, you knew more than you let on. And while others reacted in fear, confusion, or desperation, you moved forward. That is the essence of quiet mastery. That is the reason people feel unsettled around you. It's not about what you say. It's about the authority your silence commands. Think about the times when someone underestimated you, thinking they had the upper hand, only to find themselves blindsided by your insight. That is no accident. That is the result of holding knowledge, of calculating before acting, of allowing the world to reveal its own weaknesses before you reveal yours. People panic because they are accustomed to predictable reactions, to reactive minds, to impulsive decisions. They are not prepared for someone who measures, who observes, who knows without speaking. And when you step into a room carrying that quiet awareness, their unease is immediate. Their minds start racing. Their confidence begins to crack. And all because you chose not to fill the space with words, not to showcase the depth of your understanding. Let's be clear. This is not about manipulation or intimidation. This is about understanding human nature and using knowledge with purpose. People are uneasy around what they cannot define. They panic when they realize someone else sees the bigger picture. Someone else understands the implications they have overlooked. And that, my friends, is where your true power lies. Not in the debates you win, not in the arguments you force, not in the explanations you give, but in the silent mastery of knowing more than you are revealing. That's the kind of authority that leaves people unsettled, yes, but also quietly respectful. They may not admit it, they may try to deny it, but deep down they recognize that you operate on a level they have yet to reach. I want you to understand something crucial here. The knowledge you possess is not just about intellect, it's about insight, about discernment, about seeing through the noise of life and understanding the mechanics others fail to notice. When you restrain yourself from speaking everything you know, you allow yourself the opportunity to act decisively, to move strategically, to influence outcomes without alerting everyone to your power. People freak out not because you are loud, they freak out because they feel the consequences of your wisdom before you ever act. That is the magic of knowledge, held with patience and precision. There's a certain beauty in being underestimated. It gives you freedom. It allows you to prepare, to plan, to anticipate, without interference. The panic you see in others, that is their fear of being outmatched, of being exposed, of realizing that their superficial understanding is no match for your depth. And here's the secret. You don't even need to engage their fear directly. You don't need to prove it. You simply remain aware, you remain calm, you continue forward. The world will catch up to you, but not before the tremors of your quiet power shake those who thought they had you figured out. Now I want you to take a moment and reflect on your own life. Think about the moments when you've held back, when you've chosen discretion over exposition, when you've allowed your knowledge to guide your actions rather than your words. Those are the moments when you were most dangerous, because you understood the rules while everyone else was still trying to read the instructions. That is the kind of strength that intimidates, that unsettles, that makes people panic. It is not about ego, it is about excellence. It is not about domination, it is about mastery. And mastery, my friends, is always intimidating to those who settle for mediocrity. So the next time you see someone reacting with confusion or fear around you, recognize it for what it is. They are not reacting to what you've said, they are reacting to what you already know. They are reacting to the unseen, to the depth, to the insight you carry silently. And in that moment, you hold all the power, you hold all the clarity, you hold all the advantage. Let them overthink, let them miscalculate, let them panic. And while they do, you move forward, knowing that real authority is never loud, never desperate, never forced. It is inherent. It is quiet. It is undeniable. Remember this. Knowledge held quietly is not wasted. It is multiplied. Authority spoken is temporary. Authority lived is eternal. And the world around you will always react when it senses something it cannot control. People will panic when they realize you know more than you are saying, not because you are showing off, but because your restraint proves your understanding. Let that truth guide you. Let that truth empower you. Because the day you fully embrace the power of your silence, the day you move with the certainty of knowledge without needing validation, is the day the world starts to notice. And when it does, it's not the noise they remember. It's the quiet confidence, the calm awareness, the undeniable mastery of someone who knows more than they are saying. Your silence is your strategy, mastering the power they can't see. There's a misconception in the world today that power has to be loud, that influence has to be displayed, that knowledge must be broadcast for it to matter. But those who understand the real game know that the loudest voice is rarely the one with the deepest insight. Your silence, your restraint, your choice to know more than you reveal, this is your greatest weapon. It is strategic, it is deliberate, and it terrifies those who operate on impulse and assumption. People around you start to panic not because they are threatened by words. They panic because they are facing a force they cannot measure, a mind they cannot anticipate, a presence they cannot predict. When you choose to remain calm, composed, and deliberate in what you share, you are sending a silent message, a message that cannot be ignored. That message is, I know more than you think. I see more than you understand. And I am in control. People fear the unknown. They fear the gap between what they think they know and the truth that you quietly hold. And your silence magnifies that fear. They're not just reacting to the words you haven't spoken. They're reacting to the authority you carry without needing to declare it. This is mastery in its purest form. Power unannounced, influence unspoken, and strategy unseen. Many fail to recognize that silence is not emptiness. It is presence. It is observation. It is awareness. It is the ability to hold a room without dominating it, to make people question themselves without confrontation, to make decisions on their own while you guide the unseen hand. When you know more than you are revealing, your restraint becomes a mirror reflecting the panic of those who are insecure. They try to read your mind, to anticipate your next move, to match your insight, but they can't. And in that gap of uncertainty, they falter. They panic. They overcompensate. And you move forward, quietly, decisively, strategically, while they are busy reacting to the power they do not understand. Think about every major success story in history, every leader who left a lasting impact, every individual who commanded respect without asking for it. They all understood the art of controlled revelation. They knew the value of holding knowledge, of pacing their actions, of letting people reveal themselves before the right move was made. That is what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Ordinary people feel the need to prove themselves constantly, to fill the void of uncertainty with words, explanations, and justifications. Extraordinary people observe, wait, and act. Their silence is not a gap, it is a strategy, a prelude to influence that lands with precision. And when the time comes to speak or act, their impact is undeniable because it is calculated, deliberate, and unavoidable. The world today is filled with people who panic at the sight of potential. They fear depth, vision, and insight they cannot replicate. When you operate from knowledge that others cannot see, it disrupts the predictable flow of life around them. They are accustomed to people reacting, to people stumbling, to people making noise. But you are different. You are calm. You are collected. You are deliberate. And that difference is unsettling. That difference is strategic. That difference is why they are panicking. They see it, they feel it, but they cannot name it. And in that uncertainty, you hold the upper hand. It is also important to recognize that your silence is not just a shield. It is a lens. It allows you to see clearly, to assess accurately, to predict outcomes with precision. When others are shouting, arguing, or scrambling to prove themselves, you are quietly mapping the terrain. You understand motivations, weaknesses, and opportunities that they are too distracted to see. And because of that clarity, your actions become inevitable, your influence undeniable, and your presence commanding. They cannot anticipate you because they are trapped in reactive chaos, while you navigate proactively, armed with insight they don't possess. This is not about arrogance. This is not about ego. This is about strategy, patience, and understanding human nature. People fear what they cannot control. They panic when they are uncertain. They stumble when they face someone whose mind operates beyond their comprehension. And you, by knowing more than you reveal, occupy a space that is both invisible and undeniable. That is why your silence is terrifying to them. That is why your calmness unnerves them. That is why your observation becomes a silent authority. And that is why, when you finally act, it is not just noticed, it is respected, feared, and admired. Consider the times in your own life when you held back, when you chose discretion over exposition, when you allowed the world to reveal itself before you revealed your knowledge. Those moments were not wasted. They were preparation. They were positioning. They were strategic patience. And in those moments, people around you may have panicked, questioned, or underestimated you, but they were revealing themselves, showing their weaknesses, giving you the advantage you quietly claimed. That is the essence of power, not in shouting, not in boasting, but in knowing more than you are saying, and letting the world show you the gaps you can fill when the time is right. And here's the beauty of this approach. The less they know about your full capacity, the more they will reveal about theirs. The more uncertain they feel, the more they expose themselves, the more you can navigate life with clarity and purpose. Your silence becomes a map, a guide, and a shield all at once. It allows you to act with precision while others act out of fear. It allows you to lead while others stumble. It allows you to influence while others overcompensate. That is not luck. That is not coincidence. That is mastery. The kind of mastery that only comes from knowing more than you are willing to share. So I want you to embrace this truth. Your silence is not absence. Your discretion is not weakness. Your restraint is not fear. It is strategy. It is strength. It is influence. The people around you are not reacting to your words. They are reacting to your awareness, your vision, and your quiet command of the situation. They panic because they feel the weight of what you know, even if they cannot name it. They fear because they cannot measure your insight. And you move forward, quietly, confidently, and deliberately, knowing that when the time comes, your actions will speak louder than anything anyone else can say. Remember this: knowledge spoken is temporary, but knowledge lived is eternal. Noise fades, words are forgotten, but quiet mastery leaves a mark that cannot be erased. People panic not because you've shown them everything, you've only shown them what they were ready to see. And the rest, that remains your advantage, your strategy, your unseen power. Hold it, respect it, use it, because the day you embrace the art of knowing more than you say is the day the world finally realizes they've been in the presence of someone operating on a level they cannot comprehend. And that, my friends, is a kind of power no one can take away. When they panic, you're already winning the art of quiet mastery. There is a truth few people will ever admit. The world fears what it cannot predict. And when you know more than you're willing to reveal, when you hold knowledge in restraint, when you act with quiet confidence, people begin to panic. They panic because your presence exposes the gaps in their understanding, the cracks in their strategy, and the limits of their foresight. Your silence becomes a mirror reflecting their insecurity, and that panic, that is your advantage. It's a sign that you are already 3 steps ahead, that while they are busy reacting, you are calculating, observing, and positioning yourself for success. Quiet mastery is not recognized immediately, but it is undeniable once it moves into action. The first thing to understand is this: panic is a reaction to uncertainty, and uncertainty thrives where knowledge is unspoken. When you know more than you reveal, you create a space of unpredictability around you, a space that makes people second-guess themselves, question their own decisions, and underestimate their own capabilities. And while they are lost in confusion, you operate from clarity. You move from vision, not reaction. You act from strategy, not impulse. That is the difference between those who scramble to survive in chaos and those who thrive in it. People panic not because you are loud, but because you are deliberate. And deliberation is a power few can comprehend or counter. Think about every situation where you've seen someone crumble under pressure. They reveal themselves through their reaction, through their frantic efforts to control what they cannot predict, through their desperate attempts to mask uncertainty. And in contrast, think about yourself when you've stayed calm in the storm. You observed, you assessed, you waited, you knew more than you were revealing, and that knowledge guided your every move. And the difference? It's unmistakable. Calmness under scrutiny is not weakness, it is dominance. It signals that you understand forces others cannot, that you are prepared for scenarios they cannot imagine, and that your authority is internal, not external. Now let's talk about observation. The power of knowing more than you say comes not just from intelligence, but from the ability to truly see. Observation is a skill few master, and yet it is one of the most potent weapons in life. While people are focused on speaking, reacting, or proving themselves, you are quietly noting patterns, uncovering truths, and understanding motives. Every gesture, every word, every misstep is information that others fail to recognize. And when you finally act, it lands with precision because you've already calculated the variables they didn't even know existed. That is why panic surrounds you. It's a reflection of their inability to see what you already know. Here's another truth. Knowledge revealed too soon is wasted. There's a reason chess masters don't show their strategy at the start of the game. Every piece, every move, every calculation is intentional, and the same applies to life. When you hold back, when you observe before speaking, when you act after analyzing, you are in control. People panic because they can't anticipate your moves. They see potential outcomes, but they don't see the careful planning behind each step. And while they're guessing, you are executing with mastery. That is the beauty of quiet influence. It forces others to react, to panic, to expose their weaknesses, all while you remain focused, composed, and in command. Let me be clear, this is not about intimidation or ego. It is about strategy, preparation, and understanding human nature. People fear what they cannot control. They panic when they realize they are behind, when they sense that someone else is operating on a higher level of awareness. And your advantage? You are that someone else. Your knowledge, held with discretion, gives you leverage. Your calmness gives you authority. Your actions give you impact. And all of this stems from the decision to know more than you reveal, to operate with intentional silence until the moment to act is perfect. Consider the moments when someone has underestimated you. They rush to judge, to criticize, to challenge, thinking they had the upper hand. And you stayed calm, you observed, you calculated. You moved in a way that revealed the depth of your understanding without ever needing to boast. And when the consequences of your knowledge became evident, they were left scrambling to comprehend what had already been accomplished. I stayed. That is the power of quiet mastery. It allows you to move while others react, to lead while others follow, and to win while others panic. Panic, in this sense, is a natural response to your competence. It is an acknowledgement, whether conscious or not, that they are outmatched. And while panic might make them noisy, frantic, or aggressive, it also exposes their limitations, their impatience, their miscalculations, their fear. All of this becomes visible to you, and with that visibility, you gain clarity. You gain leverage. You gain the ability to act decisively while they remain trapped in reaction. This is the essence of strategic advantage, the kind that is quiet, invisible, yet undeniably effective. But quiet mastery is not just about controlling external reactions. It is about self-mastery, Knowing more than you say requires discipline, patience, and confidence. It requires faith in your understanding and trust in your timing. To hold knowledge without needing to display it, to act with authority without seeking approval, to navigate uncertainty with calm precision, this is the hallmark of true leadership. And when others panic, it's not a threat to you, it is a confirmation that your approach is working, that your strategy is effective, and that your presence is commanding respect, whether anyone admits it or not. The greatest leaders, innovators, and visionaries in history understood this instinctively. They recognized that influence comes from preparation, observation, and timing, not from words alone. They allowed others to panic while they held the bigger picture. They moved decisively when the time was right, creating results that were inevitable, not accidental. And that is the lesson for all of us. When you know more than you reveal, when your silence is purposeful, when your calm is deliberate, the world reacts to your mastery long before you ever announce it. So embrace this power. Recognize that panic in others is not a reflection of chaos. It is a reflection of your strategy. Your restraint is not weakness. It is authority. Your silence is not absence. It is mastery. And when you step into your power with clarity, vision, and patience, the world will respond, and the panic you see around you will only confirm that you are operating on a level few can reach. Let that truth guide you. Let that truth empower you. Because when they panic, you're not just observing, you're already winning. The power of knowing more than you say, how silence commands respect. There is a unique power in knowing more than you reveal, a strength that most people will never truly grasp. In a world obsessed with noise, attention, and immediate validation, the quiet ones, the observant ones, and the strategic thinkers are often underestimated. But those who panic around you, they feel the weight of your knowledge even if you never utter a word. They sense your awareness, your insight, and your preparedness, and it terrifies them. Their panic is not about your presence alone. It is about your invisible power, the knowledge you hold in reserve, and the confidence that comes from seeing what they cannot. When you master the art of saying less than you know, you become untouchable, a force that moves with authority and precision, quietly commanding respect and admiration. Too often, people mistake loudness for power. They believe that to be influential, you must assert yourself constantly, make your opinions known, and fight for attention. But the truth is the exact opposite. Power does not demand attention. It naturally attracts it. Knowledge does not require proof. It speaks through action.